Just like in any other sport, there's a pay difference between women's boxing and men's boxing. Among the many solutions, one is to bring more eyeballs to these female athletes. Over the last decade, we've had only a couple of female combat sports athletes who have changed the game. Claressa Shields, being one of them, is hopeful that there will be a positive change in the sport. First off, the condition of fighter pay in women's boxing. If you're a female professional boxer and you're relatively unknown to the masses, chances are that you'd probably be working a full-time job to pay your bills. Although the numbers might not be completely accurate, a female boxer can make as low as $200 to $400 per fight. If we talk about the median, Dmitry Ivanov from Short Boxing calculated it to be around 50 grand. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? But that's just the gross amount they get paid. This is before deducting the coach's fees, the manager's cut, and all the training and dietary expenses. Once you give all that away, you're left with peanuts. Most athletes make a major chunk of their income through sponsors, but that also requires you to have a relatively large fan following. In many promotions, the athletes are required to wear a particular fight kit, so there goes the opportunity to make money from sponsors. Fighter pay is a big problem, especially in combat sports, because the time you can compete as a fighter is very limited. You gotta make as much money as you can in those few years. Many athletes have let go of their dreams of being professional boxers just because they can't make a living off of it. Passion only takes you so far. Next up, what did Claressa Shields say about fighter pay in women's boxing? The Olympic gold medalist and multiple weight world champion Claressa Shields seems to be pretty optimistic about the future of women's pay in boxing. Although there's still a huge difference between what women and men are getting paid, even at the highest level, you could still see the improvements being made over the last few years. In her last title defense on Showtime Boxing, Claressa Shields got paid around $350,000. Now, if you're going to compare that to the tens of millions that guys like Canelo and Tyson Fury make per fight, this will be a long argument. But the numbers are rising, and that's a fact. When asked about her contract, the GOAT seemed pretty positive about what she's making. She went on record to say that she has no problem with what she got paid in her last fight or what she'll be paid in the next one, as long as the numbers keep going up. Shields isn't just dominating the boxing world, she's also dangling into the MMA scene where she holds a record of 1-1. Taking a step towards MMA really helped her popularity, as there's a much bigger audience for female fighters over there. We'll talk about that in a minute. To wrap it all up, she said that it's going to take some big fights for women's boxing to be put on the map. It's all about getting more eyeballs, and for people to have interest so they could tune in and watch the fights. Most boxers are paid based on pay-per-view numbers, so anyone who wants to support these athletes should just buy these fights. Shields thought that it would probably be a year or two before we can hear about a female boxer being paid $1 million per fight. Let's hope we can get there as soon as we can. Speaking of which, up next, women's boxing main event MSG. One of the biggest milestones in women's boxing took place this year when Amanda Serrano got her shot at the title against Katie Taylor. It was two of the best pound-for-pound boxers facing each other in their prime. This fight naturally had a lot of hype around it, and to make things even better, it was promoted perfectly by a duo you wouldn't expect to see. Eddie Hearn, who's a pretty big promoter, partnered with the problem child Jake Paul to promote the fight. Everyone knew what it meant for women's boxing, and the build did a great job of getting people to tune in. Although the fighters involved didn't seem to have any bad blood, the two promoters had quite a lot to say to each other, which made things super spicy. The event was a success, and the two athletes poured their hearts out in that performance. Taylor ended up defending her belt with a close decision, but the real winner on the night of April 30th was women's boxing. And speaking of getting paid $1 million per fight, both the fighters involved in the main event at Madison Square Garden got paid more than $1 million. Looks like we got there faster than expected. And who knows, for as close as the fight was, they might even make a rematch out of it. Is that something you'd be interested in? Let us know in the comments. Next up is the Ronda Rousey effect. Whether you're a fan of her or not, you can't deny that one of the biggest influences on getting women paid more in combat sports is the former UFC champ Ronda Rousey. In a promotion where the president was against the idea of women competing, Rousey broke down all the walls and took over the entire sport. During her dominant reign that saw her defending her title numerous times, she became the highest paid athlete in all of UFC. That's right, men and women included. When asked about the difference in pay, Rousey pointed out that the reason she gets paid so much is that fans tune in to watch her fights. At the end of the day, it's the big stars that can make a difference for all the fighters. Maybe boxing needs its own Ronda Rousey, who could change the game entirely. But who would that person be? Maybe she's been in front of us all along with her undefeated record and an Olympic gold medal? Ring any bells? Now, in other related news. First off, Nate Diaz wants out. The fighter pay issue extends into MMA as well. To put it into perspective, Nate Diaz is one of the biggest stars in the history of mixed martial arts, and even he's not happy with the promotion. The main problem seems to be that Nathan isn't interested in signing with the promotion. He just wants to end his contract and move on, but the UFC won't give him the last fight on his contract, which has created an awkward situation that has led to Nate being on the sidelines for more than a year. Over the course of the last year, Nate has asked for Vincent Luque, Dan Hooker, Charles Oliveira, and Dustin Poirier. boxer. Almost every fighter on the list was willing to fight Nate, but the UFC wasn't interested. In an interview with Ariel Helwani, Nate said that he's even willing to fight Khamzat Chimaev just to end his contract. This proves two things. The first one is that Nate really wants out, and the second one is that he really isn't scared of anyone, not even Khamzat Chimaev. Next up, Logan Paul thinks Tommy Fury doesn't deserve it anymore. At this point, it seems like the fight between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury is cursed. The bout has been booked and canceled twice, and both times it was Tommy Fury who called it off. Jake Paul is convinced that the British boxer is scared of him. In an interview with The Schmo, Logan Paul said that he doesn't think Tommy Fury deserves to fight Jake Paul. He had his opportunity and he failed to make the most of it. Adding to his point, Logan said that Jake will keep on getting better with time, unlike Tommy. So as time goes on, it's in the favor of the problem child. Paul is now set to face Hasim Rahman Jr. on August 16th, who's a late replacement and a former training partner of Jake. Logan thinks his brother would get the KO. Either way, it's the first time we'll see Jake in there with a real boxer. Let's see how he reacts to that level of adversity. Next up, we're in for a banger this weekend. If you don't know what you're doing Saturday night, here's the plan. The UFC is back on ABC with a banger of a card that is being headed by two of the best featherweights in the world. Brian T. City Ortega, who's ranked number 2, is taking on Yair Rodriguez, who sits at number 3. Both fighters are known for their exciting styles, high-level skills, and insane Mexican toughness. What most people don't know is that the two of them are friends and training partners who weren't interested in fighting each other, but all the friendships are cast aside when the opportunity is this big. Rodriguez said that he's been promised a title shot against Alexander Volkanovski if he wins. The stakes are high, folks. Let's see who comes out on top. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think the future holds for women's pay in boxing? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.